Welcome to First Parish, a Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Bob Smart. With my family, I've been a member since the early 1980s. In our church, you will find humanists, theists, atheists, agnostics, seekers, and interfaith families. Despite this religious diversity, we have many shared values. Our differences pale in comparison to what we have in common. We are all born and we all die. And in between these bookends, we want to live good and meaningful lives. We have a lot to offer each other. Friendship, knowledge, companionship, and many chances to work towards common goals. We also have fun here. Last night there was a concert in Parish Hall. Polarized Guru played, and they call themselves Jazz Fusion. But it's kind of amazing the stuff that they played. You know, they started off with real sort of heavy funk. It was wonderful stuff. And then it was like a Latin nightclub, you know, with samba and mambo rhythms. And the guitar player then started playing some Spanish guitar, which led into what we used to call in the 1960s head music. I mean, it was fantastic stuff. And if you ever get a chance to hear this group, go. They're wonderful. All right, so anyway, back to the welcome. Sometimes we call ourselves UUs. UU is short for Unitarian Universalist. You can learn more about all that's happening in this church by going to our website, which is uuneedham.org, where you can sign up for our weekly email newsletter. You can also follow us on social media. Today's order of service is online, and there's a paper in your pews with a QR code on it. The order of service can also be found at the website, uuneedham.updates.church. And I tried that this morning. It actually works. Please speak with our ushers, greeters, and Zoom hosts if you have questions or accessibility needs. Our three boys enjoyed the religious education program here, and I feel like it helped them to grow up. I'm a member of the church choir, have been, you know, off and on for many years, but more frequently now. And we could use more members, particularly in the bass and tenor sections. We have 2 basses and 1 tenor. So, guys, let's step up here. This would really help. Let's see what else I want to say. Currently, I'm serving as the church's vice president, which also makes me a member of the parish committee. Over the years, I provide legal advice to the church on various matters as they come up. You know, and it feels good to be useful. At First Parish, we covenant to live out our shared values. These include respecting the earth, trying to improve the lives and experiences of those living on the earth, and co-creating a multi-generational community. We're glad you're joining us. Welcome, and please join us for coffee hour after the service.
Hold Fast to Summer by Ben Sewell, adapted. Hold fast to summer. Enjoy with heightened appreciation these still warm September days. Create more memories, take more pictures. Enjoy a bit of denial. Suck all the summer sweetness out of your sun-warmed garden tomatoes. Smile at someone. Squeeze a hand. Put up some jam or pickles. We store these things up as we approach the uncertain seasons, and our summer companions will be our winter support and sustenance. We light this chalice in celebration of the changing seasons as we gather together in joyful community.
Our opening hymn this morning is number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. And it was written by the 20th century composer Louise Ruspini, who based the first verse of the hymn on Psalm 100. The song was arranged for our hymnal by Unitarian Universalist Betty Wilder. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing 361.
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, First Parish has a covenant. It's a statement of our goals and promises to each other. Please say along with me from home and here the words of our parish covenant, which are printed in your email order service. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world. Though doesn't apply anymore, there's a little COVID finish to this, which I don't need to recite.
Good morning. It is so wonderful to see so many smiling faces and imagine even more smiling faces. I do, however, hate to tell you, you're not in a dream. This is really happening. I have a pop quiz. I want everyone to look down and see if their name is illustrated on their front, with either a written name tag or a printed name tag. I'm not going to call out who doesn't have a name tag, but who here is wearing their name tag? Yeah. That's a good number of people. But we'll also notice that it's about half. It's not quite everyone. I will be honest and say I don't have my name tag on. But that's because it's a work in progress. Because you see, today, in this month where we talk about the theme of welcome, today we are going to think about names. Names are important. We get them from a variety of places. Some of us get them from our family when we're born. Some of us choose them. Some of us get them through some circumstance that changes our life, and thus a nickname is born that becomes kind of who we really are. Names and being able to call people by their name is important. Young-suk Choi wrote a children's book called The Name Jar. The Name Jar tells the story of a girl from Korea, Yoon Hee, You see, she had moved here from Korea and she was starting at a new school and she was very nervous. She was very nervous because she knew that her name was not an American name. It was a name that people would have trouble pronouncing, have trouble spelling. So she came up with the idea, to pick my English name, I'm gonna make a name jar. She had everyone in the class write on slips of paper different names that maybe she could go by. And she would pick them out and go, maybe this name. She tried this name, she tried that name, and they didn't fit. They didn't feel right because they weren't her name. You see, Yuhye means grace in Korean. It was a beautiful name that held meaning for her and her family. One day she came to school discouraged, hoping today maybe one of the names from the name jar would feel right. But when she got there, the name jar was gone. Nowhere to be found, not on her desk, not anywhere. And so she became brave. She went up to the board and she wrote her name in English letters and also in Korean. She taught the class how to pronounce her name, and they practiced. It really wasn't that hard. Sometimes we just need to keep pushing. It's easy to become lazy, to assume someone's pronouns, to get someone's name wrong and say, oh, it's fine, or can I just call you such and such? I will say, as someone named Sarah Elizabeth, I often get asked the question, oh, can I just call you Sarah? It puts me in such a weird position. Because if I'm honest, my answer is, well, no, that's not my name. There are other things you can call me if Sarah Elizabeth is maybe a little long for you, but Sarah is not me. We want to feel welcomed everywhere we go, but this church, the walls, the Zoom rooms, this is a place that we can really live our values. What is your name? What is your neighbor's name? Do you know? Let's know each other's name. Not by remembering, because many of us can't remember very well. There's so many of us. That's why we wear name tags, so that we can feel welcomed, so that we can be welcoming. So, in an effort for all of us to feel more invested, not just in our names and who we are, but also our name tags, our kids today and Ari are going to be decorating their own name tags, making them lively and exciting, and all of the adults here are asked to do the same. In social hour, you will find supplies to make a lanyard for your name tag, colors, crayons, and stickers to put on there, pronoun stickers, so that people can know what your pronouns are. Don't be afraid that it looks messy or unprofessional. This is our community, alive and colorful. We want to know your name. So as you decorate your name tag today, or take supplies home so that you can decorate it there, think about what names do for us in community. Think about the ways we can welcome, and think about the ways we can live in the beauty of that. Thank you, and amen.
As our children follow Sarah Elizabeth out to their religious education classes, please join in singing May the Long Time Sun. The words are in your printed and online orders of service.
May the long time sun shine upon you. All house around you, and the pure light within you. Guide your way on. May the long
This is the time during our worship service when we share joys and concerns that are very close to our hearts and to our lives. Our ministerial intern, Dara Bryans, is receiving pre-submitted candles at candles@uuneedham.org by the Friday before the service at midnight. And if you're participating on Zoom or YouTube, you may type your candle into the chat box to be held by the community watching the service with you. The only pre-submitted candle today is from me, Reverend Katie. She, hers. Hi, everyone. I am lighting a candle of joy that last night I was in Northern Virginia at my 20th high school reunion, and it was actually very nice. We were, many conversations, I graduated in a class of 650, and many conversations were around how, unlike so many high schools that you see in the movies, and perhaps a lot of high schools that you all went to, we were actually like a nice group of young people. We were happy to see each other, even if we hadn't for 20 years. There weren't long-standing grudges or like wounds from bullying over those 4 years. It was really lovely, and I appreciate that I happened to be in a school where people were kind to each other. That's not always the case, and I'm grateful. Now, if you're in the building and have a concern or a joy to share, please come forward, light a candle here, and then state your name, your pronouns, and briefly describe what is on your heart.
David Berman, he, him. Back in August, my uncle, Sumner Richmond, died, and of my parents, their siblings and spouses, he was the last, and so I miss them all.
Hi, I'm Becky Siebens, she, her. I have a candle of concern for one of my brothers who's really suffering with deep depression for a period now. So I have great concern for him and gratitude for the fact that there are resources at psychiatric hospitals, and real gratitude for his wife who is steadfast in a difficult time.
Good morning, Eric Bailey. My pronouns are he, him. The candle of joy. We had originally planned to do a full family reunion celebration of Liz's and my 25th wedding anniversary and 50th birthday in 2020, in 2021, in 2022, and it finally happened this summer. We had extended family. Cassie came back from Thailand for this. So our daughters, Cassie and Zoe, 23 and 21. My brother and his family with two daughters, 13 and 11. Liz's sister and their two kids, ages 9 and 7. Liz's brother and his girlfriend, a little bit with Liz's mom, a little bit with my parents, all together in an amazing house in Yarmouthport. With a huge pool in the back of it, and seeing the 6 cousins, again, ranging from 23 to 7, all playing together in the pool was truly amazing, and it showed the power of family. And yeah, it was 4 years delayed, but incredible. So joy for family.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Thal. My pronouns are he and his and him. And I wish to light a candle of concern for my father's girlfriend, who unfortunately fell and broke some vertebrae in her hips. She had had other falls before, and she's a former parishioner here. And I just, hope that you can hold her in the light, and that hope that she gets better soon. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Ben Grant, and I've never been here before. Indeed, I think this is the first time I've been to church on purpose. But I'm still so young, so I have like many more years I could do this. I don't know what my candle is for, but I can come up with words, I swear. Just a few days ago, I thought I wanted to end my life. I almost did. And today, well, I didn't do it, obviously. Isn't that nice? Or something like that.
Good morning, Janet Klein here, she, hers. I just got a text that my brother-in-law's father, he's the patriarch of the family since Steve and my parents are long gone. He's in his 90s, he's been doing okay with about 20% heart function. He had a heart attack last night and is not doing well. So I just wanted to lift him up. His name is Costa Shatoris. And if you could send him some light and love. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz Rover Bailey. I'm about to light a candle of celebration, hope, and a request for strength. 4 days after I had surgery on my foot, my father passed, and I wasn't able to be there because it came much more quickly than we expected, and B, travel was complicated. So I'm going, not this coming week, but the following, to New York City to stay at my mother's house for the first time since that. And then that Thursday, we are going to have a memorial and celebration of my father's life. And it will be lovely. He suffered from dementia, so the past 6 years, he hasn't really been around. But before that, he was my guy. He was how I made it through high school. He was my rock. And now I can finally grieve him, even though he's been gone for 6 years. So that week will be lovely, and it will be hard, and it will be beautiful, and it will be brutal. It will be brutiful. And I'm asking you just to keep me and my family in your thoughts. Thank you.
And now for all the joys and sorrows that we still hold in our hearts, and for the prayers of our neighbors near and far, we light a final silent candle. May the peace of this sanctuary be felt too wherever you are participating from, as we remember that even though we are worshiping in different times and places, we are still deeply connected. Will you now join me in the spirit of prayer and reflection? I invite you to settle into wherever you are sitting in an alert but comfortable position for your body, to let your eyes close or your gaze to soften, and to take a deep breath in and out. Our prayer this morning is adapted from queer Euro-American UU minister Reverend Lynn Cox. Spirit of life and love, known by many names and through many ways, we give thanks for this time and this place of renewal. We give thanks for the ability to begin again after the disaster, the tragedy, after the loss, after meeting the challenge set before us. Today especially, may the people of Morocco and all those suffering in the wake of natural disasters find solace and comfort as they bury their dead, mourn, and begin the process of rebuilding. Grant us the courage to continue on the journey, the courage to speak up for the well-being of others and ourselves and of the planet. May we forgive each other when our courage falls short. May we try again. Grant us hearts to love boldly, to embody our faith and our values in living words and deeds. May our hearts open to embrace humility, grace, and reconciliation. Grant us the ability to learn and grow, to let the spirit of love and truth work its transformation upon us and within us. Grant us the spirit of hospitality, the willingness to sustain a fit dwelling place for the holy that resides in all beings. Grant us a sense of being at peace in the world, even though we are always in motion. Let us cultivate together the strength to welcome every kind of gift, whether or not we understand and recognize these gifts, and in all manner of ways to be on the journey together. To this we add the silent prayers of our hearts. May it be so. Amen. Please remain seated and join in singing our meditative response, "We Would Be One." The lyrics are in your orders of service and on screen and are found at number 318 in the gray hymnal.
To
This congregation has been supported by the volunteered time and treasure of its members and friends since its founding in 1711. This is the time in our service when we, the modern stewards of this church, offer what we can to build and sustain the congregation and the world we envision. For the month of September, our collection will be split 50-50 between First Parish and the Generic Ministry. The Generic Ministry is a Needham-based nonprofit whose volunteers gather, sort, and provide clothing, food, and toiletries, blankets, and water to people experiencing homelessness on the streets of Boston. After serving their clients during the pandemic through partnerships with various other charities, and particularly Haley House in the South End, Generic Ministries has returned to its core work of volunteers driving its van into the city twice weekly to minister to those in need. First Parish has been a proud supporter of the Generic Ministry since its founding 20 years ago this month. We are so happy to share our collection with them. To donate to today's offering, you can use one of 3 different methods as described in your orders of service. You can text to give, our text to give program at number 73256, donate through our website, uuneedham.org, or drop a check or cash in our offering plate, or mail a check to First Parish. But whichever way you donate, please remember to specify whether your donation is meant for your pledge or for the plate collection. If this is one of your first visits to First Parish, we also encourage you to fill out a yellow card found in the back of your pew and to drop it in the collection plate or fill out our form online. And many thanks to Buffy Duig for today's beautiful flowers offered in memory of her mother, Ruth. Thank you for all you are able to do to help support and sustain this congregation and the vital work of our community partners. If the ushers would please come forward.
Come walk with me a little while. Speak gently of cloud or violet. Then often I'll remember. Often I'll remember. Often I'll remember. And smile each time I pass the meadow where we met. Come sit with me and tell me all you've seen of seaweed fancy or of mermaid hair. Then I'll have sound of surf, of white and misty green to sing for me. touch me only. It's all I ask of you. Often I'll remember my dearest, my love, my dearest, my love.
Our guests, Swan Suarez and Jacob Lighthaven, everyone. Oh, okay. I'll just do a reading after that, that's fine. Our reading this morning is Searching for Home by former First Parish ministerial intern, Reverend Christian Schmidt. Reverend Christian references the Jewish holiday of Sukkot, the festival of booths. Sukkot follows the Jewish High Holy Days, which began at sundown on Friday with the start of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. He writes, "This sense of finding home, even a temporary one, is so human, isn't it? We all want to feel at home somewhere, somehow. We want a space and feeling that is ours, that we are safe in a world that is often not safe, where very little is ours." The festival of Sukkot, literally the festival of the tabernacle or shelter, is part of this. The temporary structures observant Jews build have several meanings. They're like the simple structures farmers used out in the fields for shelter, and they're also reminders of the temporary portable structures the Israelites used during their journey through the desert as they sought the promised land and left enslavement in Egypt. Symbolically, the structures themselves are rich then. One interpretation of the Sukkah's message is, though this is a place of shelter and relative safety, this is not your home, not the home you're searching for. You may stay here for a while, but your true home lies elsewhere and you must go to it. Though only some of us here draw upon Judaism in our spiritual lives, I think we all can learn something from this. We are, each and all of us, together, looking for a place to call home. It may be the place we're staying right now. It may not be. It may be that we never find the perfect place to call home, though we may make do with good temporary homes along the way. That perfect home, perfectly safe or perfectly suited to us, that perfect theology may not be possible in our lifetimes or even in this world. But we try, and we try to do better. So I look at the terrible mass shootings we've endured, or the tolls of various natural disasters on our nation and around the world, those turned into refugees from violence in their homelands, and I pray for those hurt. I grieve for those lost, and I want to begin the work to do better, to make our world a little safer, a little more like a place where everyone feels at home. Yet it has to be more than this world we see now. Yes, there are places where many of us can feel safe, can feel at home. But as we've seen in recent years, when movie theaters, concerts, workplaces, churches, restaurants, and schools can become scenes of violence, we can't guarantee the safety of any place. We have to work to make all places and all people safer. We have to remember that all of us are interconnected, that no one is truly separate. Our actions affect others, and we are affected. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm that we must act to make change for the better, and that better has to mean better for all of us. Friends, I hope you feel at home, and I challenge you to make that home safer, better, more welcoming for all people and for all the world. We can do better, and we must. Here ends our reading.
Our theme this month is welcoming. And as a former membership professional, I have given so much thought to what it means to be welcoming. Does it just mean a smile when someone comes in the door, or polite words when you greet them? Or is there something more to it? How do we make someone feel welcome? What does it mean to be welcoming? And early in my years of being the membership coordinator, I delved into some research to help my understanding, and I came across something known as radical hospitality. And I thought, great. Radical hospitality has to be way better than regular old hospitality. But what I found was that it is so much more than what I expected. Radical hospitality, it turns out, is not a new idea. In fact, it comes from a set of rules created by the 6th century Benedictine monk, Saint Benedict, who Benedictine monasteries are named after. And he founded 12 monasteries over his lifetime that were all governed by a very strict set of rules that he laid out for living a good life, a devout life, a spiritual life. And his rules became the standard for regulating monastic life in many other traditions. But the most important rule, according to Benedict, was the love of God. And second to that was the love of neighbor. Benedict believed that life should be governed by following Jesus' teachings to love our neighbors as ourselves. Jesus said, "I was the stranger and you welcomed me." Benedict took this as a guiding principle that we should seek to find Jesus in each stranger, treating them as if they were holy and divine. So radical hospitality arises from this principle, that there is a spark of the divine in each and every one of us. And it's further deepened by a Christian idea that God is our father or our parent. And that if God or the divine is our parent, that makes us all siblings, human beings created in God's image, related deeply and intimately to one another. So that when we welcome the stranger and our neighbor, we are simply welcoming a family member that we've not met yet. And over the centuries since Saint Benedict came up with his rules, many scholars and religious leaders have used them to develop a code of living. And the idea of radical hospitality arose from these scholars' ideas. And a book that I found that I really deeply loved and appreciated is called Radical Hospitality, and it was written by Father Daniel Homan and Lonnie Collins Pratt. And in it, they explain that, quote, hospitality is the answer to hostility. Jesus said to love your neighbor, and hospitality is how. I love that hospitality is the answer to hostility. But what is hospitality exactly? If we look at the etymology of the word, we can find two different aspects that I thought were really interesting. And one is that the root word, hospice, means host, guest, stranger, and visitor. In one word, host and guest, right? Stranger and visitor, all together in one word. The other interesting fact to me is that if you look at the way hospitality is spelled, embedded within the word is the word hospital. And hospitals are places of healing. So I'm taking some liberties here, but I'm just going to say that I see healing possibilities within the act of offering hospitality. And within this word, that we have these dualities. We've got the host and the guest, and we've got the healing and the welcome. And this suggests to me a reciprocity. It should suggest that as we welcome the stranger into our home, they're also welcoming us into their life. And Father Holman suggests that part of what makes welcoming a spiritual practice is that we are in relationship with one another. That we open our hearts and we allow ourselves to be fundamentally changed by our encounter. There is no hierarchy in hospitality. There is only reciprocity, host and guest, welcome and healing. And through this reciprocity, through opening our hearts and through hearing and telling our stories, being known and accepted for the wholeness of who we are, healing can happen in that process. This great broken world of ours desperately needs our healing. It needs us to meet each other wherever we find ourselves, not as strangers, not as aliens, not as foreigners, but part of our human family together. Radical hospitality offers belonging, even if only for a short while. And belonging, I believe, is fundamental to being human. There are very few of us who can actually live in isolation. The act of radical hospitality offers the stranger a place of belonging, even if only, as we heard in our reading, for a short time. But how do we practice radical hospitality? That's a big question. It's the practice of truly seeing another human being and allowing ourselves to equally be seen. It asks us to risk vulnerability, to open our hearts to their story, and to hear the story of another person. Because our stories are both sacred and so mundane. And we allow ourselves to be known by these stories. And sometimes those stories we tell are not the ones that are spoken aloud, but are the nonverbal stories that our bodies and our demeanor tell. When I was working as a membership professional, one Sunday a woman came into our doors, and I cheerfully greeted her as she came in. "Good morning, it is so good to see you." And then I asked her if this was her first time visiting the church. "Yes," she said, as her eyes slid away from mine and her body slowly sidled around me. "Welcome," I called after her. "I hope you enjoy our service." Oh, I recognized her. Well, not her specifically, but I recognized the posture of her sidling movements that told me the story of someone who wanted a quiet space, who wanted solace and sanctuary. I had been that person before. Someone who didn't want to be drawn into conversation. Someone who needed to be left in peace. But I hoped that over time, she would be ready to build community with us. Week after week, she came and she sat in that back pew on the left, kind of where Jamie's sitting now. And week after week, I never saw her speak to another person. About a month had gone by since she started coming to services, and I, in my good membership role, sat down in the pew in front of her, and I turned and I offered her a welcome card. And I said, "Maybe you'd like to fill this out so you can know what's happening in our congregation in case you want to get more involved and connected." She quietly took the card from me. She stopped coming soon after that, or I should say, I noticed soon after that she was no longer in her pew at the back left of the sanctuary. I feared that my need to get her connected chased her away. I feared that I had not listened to and respected the story of her body, her unspoken words. A year went by and she appeared again, and I quietly and joyfully welcomed and greeted her at the door. For the next 2 years, she came regularly, seldom missing a service, and she always sat in that same pew, and I rarely saw her speaking to anyone else. Last year, on a Sunday when I wasn't here, I went to services at my home congregation. And we've got a tradition that after the welcoming, we're invited to rise and greet our neighbors. And as I looked out over this congregation that was excitedly greeting one another, I noticed that quiet woman at the back of the sanctuary, and she was being approached by Sally. Sally was a new member. She'd only been with us for a year. And Sally approached this woman, and she opened her arms wide, and the woman stepped into her arms. And Sally briefly embraced her and patted her on the back, and then they stepped apart, and Sally returned to her pew, and the service continued. After the service, I went up to Sally, and I told her about my experience with the quiet woman, whose name I still did not know. And Sally, she told me that the woman's name was Jane, and that as soon as she saw her, she knew that Jane likely had a disease that afflicted Sally's sister. There were telltale signs in Jane's appearance that told the story of her illness to Sally. Sally had gently and in a roundabout way over the months let Jane know that she was seen and her story was known. Over the year, the two women had quiet conversations and they shared stories together about their lives. And in the process, they built a relationship that brought comfort and healing. Father Homan wrote that we must listen with the ears of our heart. The story that I heard from Jane when she first arrived was one of pain and of sadness. I heard the story of someone who needed sanctuary and space and time. But the ears of my heart were not attuned to hear more of her story. And I stopped honoring the story that I could hear. But Sally's heart could hear Jane's story and eventually was able to receive the story that Jane chose to speak aloud. This, to me, is the transformative ability of radical hospitality. Radical welcome. To greet Jane and hear the beginnings of her story, to welcome her in a way that said, I hear you and you are seen. To offer a warm greeting, to allow space. To trust what I could not hear with the ears of my heart could be heard by someone else in our community. When I saw Jane and Sally embracing that day, my heart ached with the gratitude of the healing power of community. This is radical hospitality, meeting the newcomer where and how they are, listening to them, respecting their story, building bridges, meet everyone where they are and love them for it. So I've talked a lot this morning about hospitality and what it means to make someone feel welcome. But the title of my sermon is Hospitality or Welcoming is a Spiritual Practice. And what does that mean? According to Father Hellman, a spiritual practice is one that does more than just make us feel good. Because I'm going to tell you that sitting in meditation with quiet music in the background makes me feel really good. But if it doesn't push me out of my comfort zone, if it doesn't call me to become my better self, can it truly be called a spiritual practice? A spiritual practice asks us to stretch and to grow. It cracks open our hearts to more love. Remember that hospitality has its core the idea of being both the host and the guest. That as we welcome the stranger into our midst, they are welcoming us as well. As we share our space with them, offer nourishment for body and for spirit, they are offering gifts to us as well if we listen with the ears of our heart. And in this encounter, we are changed. Father Hellman suggests that radical hospitality can change the world. Hospitality can end hostility. And it might not end hostility in broad, grand sweeps, but it can bring changes in these small person-to-person encounters. Hellman says hospitality has a moral dimension to it. It's a spiritual and ethical issue involving what it means to be human. To be human and to be in relationship with one another, to offer hospitality. Welcoming is a spiritual practice because it makes us so very human. It increases our capacity to open our hearts, to love more, to give and to receive that love, to overcome isolation and loneliness, to end injustice. Now, last week, Reverend Katie, she charged us with finding, I gotta back up. First, she told us about statistics, about alienation and loneliness and feelings of non-belonging. And these statistics showed that 1 in 5 people in our country today do not feel at home anywhere. That is, 20% of our population doesn't feel at home, does not feel seen, does not feel a sense of belonging. Father Homan is right. Radical hospitality has a moral component to it. Because to me, it verges on the immoral to turn our backs when we know that nearly a quarter of all people have a sense of non-belonging. And here we come to the charge that Reverend Katie gave us last week. She asked us, what can you do specifically, to offer hospitality to someone? Well, Reverend Katie, I've got 2 answers for you. My first answer is to practice radical hospitality everywhere, with everyone, and in everything we do. To listen with the ears of our hearts, to offer the gift of presence to friends and strangers alike, to listen to their stories, to accept them, to love. And my second answer, look around you at the people in your life, neighbors, colleagues, friends, and families, and know that 1 in 5 of them has a deep-seated feeling of non-belonging. Now here's the difficult part. I want you to offer them the gift of an invitation to join you at church. Because we, together as community, offering radical hospitality to friend and stranger alike, we can be a place of sanctuary and of refuge for those seeking a place to belong, a place to call home. My wish for us as we leave the sanctuary this morning is that we all take on the practice of radical hospitality, to expand our heart's capacity, to offer belonging, home, and healing for this beautiful and broken world. May it be so. Amen.
versant d'éclat comme un ruisseau qui passe, apportant du couchant les filles clartés, et pareil à celui des oiseaux attristés, et vol des souvenirs s'alanguit dans l'espace. Fuit vers son éclat comme un ruisseau qui passe. Calice des fins de l'envol humide et des roses trémières, et vers le firmament des lointaines lumières, un rêve monte encore sur l'aile du parfum. Podam encore au calice des fins. Une chanson d'adieu sort des sources troublées. S'il vous plaît, mon amour, reprenons le chemin. Autour de printemps et la main dans la main, nous suivons les caprices odorants des allées. Une chanson d'adieu sort d'amour se troubler. Une chanson d'amour sonde mon cœur fervent, qu'en avril des ténèbres a fleuri de jeunesse, que meurent les baisers qui la renaissent, comme un hymne joyeux dans la plainte du vent. Une chanson d'amour sort de mon cœur, de mon cœur fervent. Une chanson d'amour vers la beauté sacrée, femme immortalité, femme immortelle printemps, sœur de l'étoile en feu qui par les subtants, versant toutes saisons sa lumière dorée. Une chanson d'amour vers ta beauté sacrée. Femme immortalité, femme immortelle, printemps.
Many thanks for our wonderful guest vocalist and pianist today. Thank you all so much for being here. Your music is so beautiful. As we near the close of our service, I'd like to highlight for you some upcoming special events here at First Parish. After social hour wraps up today, you can join me for an autumnal equinox ritual out on our front lawn that will help us reconnect with the earth during this special moment in our planet's turning. Caregivers Support Group is also meeting on Zoom after social hour, and you can get more information from our e-newsletter, The Bell Notes, or from the group's leader, Lynn Jakowski. And if you did like the music, I don't know why I would make an if, that's fine. If you liked it and you're free this afternoon, plan to come back to First Parish at 4 o'clock for our kickoff to the 4 concert of this congregational year. You'll hear more pieces from Juan and from our pianist Jacob, and that will reflect the little joys of the queer experience, including a new composition from our very own Laura Nevitt. During the week, we'll have many of our usual weekly gatherings, our new Fleet Feet on Wednesday mornings, meditation ministry on Thursday evening, and creative escapes on Friday morning. And next Sunday, leaders from the various committees of the church will offer a volunteer fair during in-person social hour. And if you're looking for meaningful ways to connect and to serve First Parish and fellow First Parishioners, please be sure to stay for social hour next week. If you're typically with us on Zoom and you live geographically close, you're welcome to come in person to connect with folks. And many thanks to our Vice President, Bob Smart, for organizing this event in his role. And please check our website and the bell notes for information about how to sign up for friendly feasts, how to donate to our Congregational Savers fundraiser. It's fun, in all caps, fundraising. And, wait, did we get Susanna? We forgot. We're gonna do this. Okay. We're gonna skip ahead and then we're gonna go back. We always extinguish our chalice with words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again, no matter how long it is until we are all together again. Please join me from home or from here in the building in saying those words written by UU Minister Reverend Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. If Susanna arrives, we're going to take a pause, but I'm going to introduce the, we'll see what happens. Our closing hymn, We Laugh, We Cry, was written by 20th century Unitarian Universalist singer-songwriter. Oh, she's here. Oh, hi, Susanna. Hi. Did you all know that as of last weekend, Susanna has served First Parish as our administrator for 10 years? Thank you, Susanna, for all of your hard work and dedication to our community and to Unitarian Universalism more broadly. We celebrate with you with our appreciation and from the parish committee, a very nice cake at social hour. I'm delighted to have embarrassed you publicly with praise twice in the last month. Thank you so much. You're free to not be there and thank you, Susanna. Bye. Anyway, where was I? Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing We Laugh, We Cry. Because we're running over today, we'll just do verses 1 and 4. Sorry, I didn't tell you guys. We're only doing verses 1 and 4. The lyrics will be in your orders of service and on screen at number 354 in your gray hymnals. Please rise in body or in spirit for We Laugh, We Cry.
Free
Our benediction this morning is an adaptation of some of the lyrics from Love Request mashed up with radical hospitality. Come, walk with me, and together we will remember our shared humanity. Come, sit with me, and tell me all you have seen in your life, and I will tell you of mine. Come sing with me the song of connection and belonging, that our voices together in harmony can be heard by the heart's ears of everyone in need of a home. May it be so. Go in peace, go in love.